Vintage Hikaru win, when he's on the back foot and for the majority of the game completely busted a man. What a masterful performance by Liem in the opening, most of the middle game, and then having that upper hand. But Hikaru so resourceful, setting up tricks, first winning the queen, then winning that knight, then winning the rook, just setting up these ideas and traps, and that's what makes him so tricky. When you have seconds against Hikaru, you're not surviving it.
I know it's early, but Tanya, that is a really bad sign for this matchup for Quang Liem. You have to be not losing those positions. Let's just say that. But I think you need to win that. Hikaru managed to win the d5 pawn, the d7 rook, the e2 knight, and then the g5 knight, all in succession. You can't drop that much material. That shows a lot of nerves from Quang Liem early, dealing with that 1-2 seconds on the clock.
And that's the thing, right? He has to make sure that when he gets these chances, Liem does, he needs to maximize them because they're going to be far and few against a player like Hikaru. So to let go of that, he knows that was a big blip on the road. Hikaru makes a comeback. Now he starts with the white pieces and suddenly looking like Hikaru. He's suddenly looking a lot more confident. We see all of him.
Yeah, he definitely started head bobbing after that last victory because even for his standards, that was an incredible swindle. So yeah, of course, he approaches this game with a lot of confidence, and he's played king h1, pawn to f4. This is another typical Hikaru opening with knight c3 and knight e2. The bishop's opening starting with bishop c4, and the plan here is always to play king h1 and pawn to f4. That's why you do not develop the knight to f3 in this system to make way for this pawn.
And this is already starting to look very dangerous because once that pawn either moves forward, you're looking at a kingside pawn storm attack, or even trades an e5. Always watch out for rook takes knight, sacrifices the bishop from c1, joining from g5. Hikaru, though, slows down before he captures with the queen, so was tempted to go and recapture with the knight.
Yeah, I actually want to take a moment and just go back a couple moves here, Tanya, and put that idea on the board to illustrate. If bishop takes b3, for example, and queen d7, just want to show how important this sacrifice is. It's absolutely integral to this position. The bishop comes to h6, the knight comes to d5, the rook comes to f1. This would be overwhelming, and it's just purely down material here. The goal is not to win the rook back, but this would be a really, really powerful idea. Your rook takes f6. So just wanted to highlight how key that is in these positions and why, of course, Quang Liem is not going to allow it.
And he had to fall back with the knight. Bishop g5 was threatened. You can't allow that eternal pin. Also really nice how Liem's placed his pieces. The bishop lands on d4, defending the king side, beautifully centralized. The knight reroutes itself, now threatening to take the bishop in b3. If white was to trade, bishop takes bishop, then I think Liem has the option to capture with the pawn, opening up the f line to challenge the rooks.
Yeah, and this is the advantage that Hikaru has in this position. He's got that open f-file, so he does want to make use of it. If you go around taking, then it's going to correct itself. However, black may want to kind of force this. Play pawn to a4, try to get that in the position. So Hikaru is maybe gearing up for knight h5 and trying to say, look, if you spend all that time to make me capture, I got a slight initiative on the king side. But Tanya, I do think this is getting close to equal.
Very nicely handled. And I don't know if you noticed it, but Aman, there was like the strategic maneuver where Liem essentially swapped the knight and the bishop. The bishop landed on f6 from c5, the knight landed on c5 from f6. So understanding piece placement is so important.
That's right. Yeah, that's kind of funny. A musical chairs there for the black pieces, as now Hikaru's playing rook f3, rook f1. The great thing about Hikaru's position is that it's built for speed chess. It's so simple to play, and the engine loves it, right? He's got an advantage, and it feels like a position that I could already tell you the next couple moves that Hikaru's thinking about. You would be interested in trading these bishops as well. The dark squares around the king would become quite weak.
And always watch out for a knight sacrifice. Knight f5, knight h5, at the right moment is something that you need to keep in mind. The bishop on f6, so far defending everything on the king side. Rook f1 brings the rook to the active square. has to fall back with the bishop. Are you tempted to trade the dark squared bishop? He keeps it alive. There were checkmating ideas. I think bishop g7, threats like knight h5 would have been devastating.
Yeah, agree. You have to be very careful, especially if you trade these bishops. All of a sudden, white can gain access to the c3 square and then be on that diagonal with knight h5, rook g3. There can actually be a checkmate coming out of nowhere here, Tanya.
He knows the bishop's a key defender. Also notice how he didn't take the b2 pawn, because that was a bit of a mouse trap. You know, you take the cheese, c3 shuts down the mouse, kills it, and there would also be checkmate on the other side. So b2 not on pre. He falls back, but it's looking very precarious for the black king. You know, knight h5, pawn takes knight. It's still in the air. Either to f5 or to h5, rook g3 check. The king has nowhere to run.
Yeah, exactly. The move knight f5 also comes with maybe pawn takes, advancing the pawn, but I was going to highlight knight h5 is just hanging, right? It's completely hanging, but it's because of how important it is to control the g file. And if the knight goes to f6, Tanya, bishop takes, rook takes, those dark squares around the king are absolutely crying out for help. That looks like it would just win on the spot.
Now that's game over. You just cannot allow a move that forces the dark square bishop swap here. He has to take the knight, and for check, you've got bishop g4. That's the only resource that I see for Liem here. I don't believe he can allow the knight to live. It doesn't give a completely winning advantage to Hikaru. What's the best move here, Aman?
I was thinking f5. It's not pretty, I'll give you that, but this did not look very appetizing. Look, if pawn takes, you know, there's maybe some idea like queen h4, although I have to say I still don't trust that after rook h3. It looked maybe like f5 was the smarter move, but knight h5 is just a really good move by Hikaru and so tough to react to, especially in speed chess.
And there's so many tempting options right now. You know, you could rush with pawn takes bishop and say you have rook h3 for the check, but you could also put your queen on f4, threatening rook takes bishop idea. Your other rook could join the party from f4 at the right moment, but watch out for the back rank. And I think that's why Hikaru, he just slows down. He knows this is the moment. This is the other thing he does, right? He knows exactly when to calculate and when he needs to blitz out the moves.
Yep, what a skill. Queen h4, rook h3. I did not like this, and he's already calculated what I assume is just completely winning here. f7 is a threat. Rook g3 is a threat. Those two, I think that's enough. Like 2 threats, I don't see a good way to deal with things that keeps everything under control. And the rook on a4, Tanya, is just so offside.
And the move of the head bob is really the strongest. You know, when that appears, you are done for in the game. And Hikaru, he knows he's about to get the second win. And Liem, you can see it on him. And so much of this comes down to what happened in the first game. And there we have it, Hikaru with a second.